Welcome to Week in Horror.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
The podcast that deep dives all the films you love.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The week they dropped in horror history.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
With your horror hosts. JL. When a shirtless Sam Elliott with no mustache takes out an alligator with an oar, that's the kind of movie I'm looking for. Eugene.
And we're just casually yeah, so this is probably the best way to go, light someone on fire with gasoline.
Alex.
It would not be an original lineup if I didn't have fucking technical difficulty.
Johnny O.
Now, it's not an Amityville, or wherever it's Amityville.
And Aaron.
They got manure to work with and nothing grew from it.
News, trailers, trivia, special guests, and more.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Live show every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central at youtube.com/weekinhorror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
And wherever you listen to podcasts.
One by one, we will take you.
Week in Horror. Stay scared. Welcome, horror fans. It is Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. That means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast. The only podcast that's just as shocked as you are that we have made it this far. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember, we do this live every single Wednesday right here on YouTube. Come hang out and see all the cool stuff that our editor doesn't want you to see, all the stuff that makes the cutting room floor. It gets really, really wild in here. This week, we are covering select horror films released April 9th through April 15th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I am JL, and with me tonight are Aaron, he's over here, and Eugene, who's down below.
That's gonna sound really, really dirty on the pure audio version.
That really is. Aaron's just watching, and Eugene's down there.
Oh, this is a nice chair. Just a little left, Eugene.
Should we do the pyramid?
Yeah.
The pyramid right here. So
Eiffel Tower.
The Eiffel Tower. We'll do the Eiffel Tower. Oh man. Oh, how is everybody doing? How's y'all's week? Because I know that Eugene has been busy because he's doing the Spielberg thing out there. But how's everybody doing? How you guys doing so far?
Well, I started off by moving the shelf that's normally like right behind me to the left, my left, if I'm facing backwards, and 3 coats of water sealant later, and I've still got to drop in primer and paint tomorrow, and because there was a water leak in the wall, so It's not been a relaxing few days for me anyway. I had to go out and dig under the stairs out there and rechannel all the water. It turned out that the water under the stairs had softened and was letting you through the wall, so I had to rebank, rechannel that, throw down grass seed and mulch, and now I decided to take advantage. If I was going to seal it, I'm going to put a nice coat of paint down and make it pretty for y'all.
Damn.
Next on West Virginia Home Refurbishers.
We're going to fix up the dog pen.
And Eugene, I know you've been great. We work closely together, so we've been busy, and I know that you're busy out not only with stuff that you're working on with jobs that you currently have, but also we got behind the like stuff that's coming up for us for Week in Horror that is just, I think, it's taking up a lot of time. I mean, has it been out of control?
Oh man, there's some great stuff. I'm really excited about Closing Shift. I'm not gonna give away too much about it, but it's a short film we're filming very early next month, and we're actually, me and Johnny are gonna film some stuff next week in Houston. Though we're excited about that. So there's definitely some projects coming in pretty soon. Plus, if you look behind me on this way, I was able to get my hands on a full 88 key digital piano with weighted keys and everything, and I got it working 10 minutes ago. So nice. I'm really excited about it to get a little piano action in.
Nice. That was the whole reason I decided to move that shelf, is I got a little 2-foot wide, 5-shelf tall one to put up my projectors and my 8mm camera and stuff on, because I got a hold of that. I think I told you guys that somebody brought in that mint condition Kodak Brownie projector and it
Nice.
was to be recycled where my wife works, and they rescued it. And then there's also like a full-blown carousel projector, the Kodak carousel projector, just absolutely perfect condition. So I'm gonna add those to the trophy wall, and maybe I might mess with doing some little green screen on there with the projector if I can. See what I can
Ooh.
accomplish.
Nice.
See what
I
can pull off.
love come across old equipment, and sometimes going back and looking at the old equipment that I've used as far as being a filmmaker and everything. Because I remember just from being young, I still have the couple of brownies that my father purchased way back when. So I still have a couple of those that are kind of like in my personal collection area. But what I really love doing is I love going back and busting out the very first DSLR that I purchased when I first got started. I was like, I'm gonna be a filmmaker. I need a camera. And so the very first one I ever got my hands on that was mine, I bought with my own money, was a Canon XL2. And because I love that camera, it was so easy to use just starting out. And you look at it now and it's like, it's so obsolete at this point, but still a very, very handy camera. You know, it's not bad. It's got, you know, you can do some pretty interesting stuff with it, but it's a good starter camera. But I love going back and busting out the old stuff, like the old equipment. Like I have these I had a dolly track that we made out of 2x4s and PVC pipe and skate trucks that we learned online. So I have that like in the garage that we made that specifically just so we could go zoop, and that was it. It took like 2 days to put together, and we 2 days and a lot of graphite. And then, of course, some of the makeshift C stands we made because we couldn't afford like legit C stands, so we actually had to like compose our own, which are really hilarious. So, and it's interesting because it's literally like wood that's like a tripoded piece of wood with a sliding piece of wood above that you then clamp down, and then you can adjust things up and down. So you can adjust your light scale like that, and then you basically just it's all makeshift. It's all like fucking like. We didn't have any money, so we have to construct everything out of scrap. It's hilarious. So seeing this really nice umbrella, this really nice box light sitting like attached to this hunk of wood that just kind of like adjusts. It's hilarious.
I bought a backdrop holder, and I have never used it for a backdrop the entire time. I've used it for like makeshift C-stand, microphone holder, just everything in the book except holding a backdrop. I just took and attached the backdrop to the ceiling because I've got open beam here. I'm just like, yeah, put in some screws.
Oh, fun stuff. Fun adventures in filmmaking. Always good. But we have a bunch of really cool stuff coming up here at Week in Horror. We have stuff in production, going into pre-production, stuff going into production this year, which is going to be so much fun. I'll be tracking down back down to Texas to visit the guys when they're on set for the upcoming stuff, and all kinds of things that we are going to fill all of you in on, especially all of you patron members, which I'm going to put up that banner right now. All of you amazing patrons will have exclusive access to all the behind the scenes stuff that we do here as far as film production wise, via our Patreon, and of course the Patreon section in the Discord channel as well, because you guys have your own little special place there. And so behind the scenes footage, behind the scenes photos, interviews with cast and crew, all kinds of cool things. So we can bring you along on that journey as we kind of like bring our this was kind of like the pipe dream, the show builds to a certain point where we can begin to like really start making things, and it's happening there. So because of y'all, we've been able to get from just 3 guys recording our audio, recording audio, and then just like at the very beginning is just 3 dudes recording audio, no cameras, we couldn't see each other, just like, let's talk about stuff, no fucking script. We've gone from just 3 dudes doing that to the full-on, production, the grown production house that we have today. So that's because of each and every single one of you supporters out there, the people who come to the live streams, people who support us via Patreon or PayPal. You guys make it worth it. It's absolutely amazing. So many cool things coming up. I can't wait to show the behind-the-scenes stuff from this live show. It's going to blow their fucking minds. It really will.
It's going to be insane, because I don't know how many people have seen the behind-the-scenes nail gun stuff. This is going to blow the nail gun stuff out of the water in terms of the stuff that we have planned. We're going to have, because obviously there's going to be some couple of juicy kills. So we already got a full prosthetic team, because we're going to do everything like prosthetics and latex and blood, and all practical all the way. We got this 1950s diner already rented out. So it's going to be a blast filming it.
It's gonna be fucking crazy. I will admit, I I was quite pleased with some of the things that I put in that script. It's a short film, but nonetheless, the best thing about writing a short film is that there's no real need to draw things out before your big moments. You can literally do like 10 to 15 minutes of just big moments, which makes it a lot of fun, which you go from just one insane thing to the next with a bit of tension in between. But that's what makes them a whole lot more fun. And it makes shooting is a bit more frenetic because you have to really plan for how you're going to do each scene. Because like, we got a big one, big scene, big scene, big scene. We got 5 big scenes we got to knock out in just a matter of days. So you really, and Eugene is fantastic at that. He can knock it out of the park. But some of the stuff we're going to pull off in this one, I thought it was a little over ambitious. I thought it was like, I'm sitting here writing this shit. And I'm like, there's no fucking way to be able to do this. But it just sounds so cool on paper. Just imagining the killer doing this, like, we need to, especially how you shoot it, how you choose to shoot it, like shoot the angles. It's going to be fucking amazing. So
yeah, it's a lot of the same people from Nail Gun. So we have the same cinematographer is coming back. Johnny is going to be playing one of the parts in it, and so we've already got it like referencing. We already got a shot listed out. So it's going to be just insane on how it looks. We're actually bringing in so much more equipment because our cinematographer is like, I need 5 of these type of lights. Well, these lights are $3,500 a piece. All right, we're gonna work on getting these to you, and like that's just the way it is. And honestly, a lot of this stuff is because of you, the listeners, because a lot of the people I've met from Nail Gun, which y'all helped put together, and now we're just upping it that much more, and we get you a horror film that y'all are going to be impressed and love, and hopefully one day this turns into a feature film also.
Fucking A. Oh, it's gonna be so good. I'm beyond excited because it's these things, it's wild because it takes once you kick a thing off, like a project off. So you get an idea, you brainstorm a bit, and then you put something, you commit it to paper, you go through your rough draft, your second draft, finally you nail down exactly what you want to shoot. And then sometimes that wait in between, the script is submitted, we're good to go. Then the wait in between that and when principal photography begins can just be fucking nerve-wracking because there's always the fear that the longer you go, the less likely a production will happen. Because you want it to just get off and get you just going right now. That's a poor choice of words right there. You just want it to get off. But you want to launch. You want to get going as fast as possible because that window of opportunity, if it goes longer and longer, people lose interest. More variables can pop up. Somebody could suddenly not be available anymore. Money sources can dry up. And so it's always risky taking it. So it's always kind of like, you get kind of nervous. So you train yourself to just move on to the next project. Just move on to the next one, work on the next, and just fingers crossed that one takes off. And fortunately, this one has. And it's been exciting thinking about what the boys are going to do down there in Texas. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great gory time.
Fucking A. So, and of course, yes, a huge giant thank you to all the patrons, all the people that support the channel, because we wouldn't have been able to do that without you. We can't wait to bring you along and for the ride to show all the wickedly gory, nasty, brutal shit that we're going to put to celluloid. It's going to be, or actually put to digital. It's going to be fucking amazing. Speaking of which, before we jump into the things that we have to cover tonight, we have 2 things we want to check out. I want to say hi to whoever we got in the chat tonight. I see we got a bunch of people in here. I see Doctor Who Design is here. Travis Brown is here. And I'll try to be quick on this. Casey Cooper is here as well. Good to see you, Casey. Wrote in no last name. Gabba Gabba to you. Says, welcome to Week in Horticulture, where we use all of JL's polished turds as fertilizer. I don't think I can bust out the Turd Polisher 9000 tonight because there's really no polishing. Well, maybe one, but mostly no.
It's one of those episodes.
It's one of those episodes. Yeah, the entertainment will be us. You'd say is what we can go for. And I've got something new to reveal tonight, so it's going to be kind of cool. Sarcasm's here. Good to see you, Sarcasm. And welcome back to the Patreon family. I do appreciate that, bud. Brian Powell is here as well. Good to see you. Donnie does that. Charlie Welch, the only man on the internet you never make a bet with. Good to see you, Charlie, or Welchy, as I like. Let me see. Genova28 is here. Good to see you, Genova. And I see as well, NA is in the house. Good to see you, NA. And Insane Angel is here. Good to see you. Says, what's good, y'all? We're doing good. We're doing really good. But thank you so much for being here, Insane. And, there's Aaron keeping it real in there. Plot holes hanging out in there as well. It says garbage day. Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to
That's a good way to sum it up.
That's a good way to summarize the whole thing. Yeah, definitely garbage day. Tina Jones is here, says peekaboo, good to see you. Tina Shiz is up, says what's up, Playboys, good to see you, Shiz. And I see as well Tony Regime says, hey, Week in Horror, Eugene Aaron, sorry I'm late. I was looking for ghosts to keep jail's internet running. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. They always have the more the merrier. Absolutely. My containment system is protected from people like Walter Peck, so I don't have to worry too much about someone coming in and just shutting off the grid. Good stuff. I'm so old that I made that reference. I really am. Seen that movie way too many times. But thank you so much, everybody, for being here. If I missed anybody, I apologize. I'll try and catch you, in the chat. But first and foremost, and Johnny was in the live chat, and Johnny just messaged me via Discord and said that he is going to choose, that he's chosen for the Bloodbath coin toss, which we are about to do, that he has chosen Tails. Now, the question is, what will be this upcoming Bloodbath debate? Because I haven't told the guys yet. I told Angela but it will be Johnny versus me. So Johnny is debating me in this upcoming Bloodbath debate, and it will be the True Knot from Dr. Sleep. So that group, the True Knot from Dr. Sleep, versus the Three Mothers from Argento's trilogy.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Two covens coming out like that. So we have the True Knot versus the Three Mothers. And Johnny has chosen Tails, which is for the official coin. The coin we use, the Texas Frightmare Weekend coin. And the state of Texas on the side is the heads. So giving the coin toss, giving the boom. And Johnny chose Tails. And it is heads.
Oh, so Angela gets to pick.
No, I get to pick.
Oh, you get to pick, yes.
Because it's Johnny versus me. So I get to choose who I want. You know what? I'm not going to choose just yet. I'll say who I chose later because I want to really, really think about that. I really do. Because I need to think about this one. I think I know who I'm going to go with, but I need to choose. But I've won the coin toss. Sorry, Johnny. I will choose because Tails failed, apparently. And I will choose who I want to go into the debate with. So look forward to that reveal later on. It says, bullshit, you can't make the toss. I made the toss, bitch. And if you had won, if you had won, I would have given it to you. But you didn't. You lost. Sorry.
Sarcasm says rigged.
I promise it's not. So, but I do. It's totally not rigged. Anyway, so I'll be looking forward to making my choice later on. So this is nope. Johnny says nope. The fix is in. Prove it, bitch. Anyway, so moving on. One of the cool things that came along I want to dive into before we dive into tonight's movies tonight. I'm going to unveil something really, really cool. So I did something a little bit different. And the first thing we do is Eugene is a giant Tommy Wiseau fan. Okay.
Yes.
Who loves The Room. He adores it. He adores the work of that little Romanian vampire. And as it turns out, Tommy Wiseau has a new movie coming out. A horror film called Big Shark. And we're going to watch the trailer. But keep in mind, The Room. Keep that like The Room, like the experience of The Room when you watch this trailer. I think you'll understand why. And let's unveil this kind of new thing that we're going to do. So let's check out this trailer for Big Shark.
Okay, boys, I'm the referee. Who's ready for a fight? You two, what's your name? Jimmy. What's your name? Tony. I want a good, clean fight. Ready? Yeah. Go!
Why did they give Tommy CGI? hi, shark.
I did not bite her. I did not bite her. I did not.
I love that. Oh, hi, shark. So yes, that is the trailer for Tommy Wiseau's new Big Shark movie coming out. Did you notice something about it? How the vast majority of the trailer had nothing to do with the shark?
Yeah, it started off with the guys like in the boxing ring, and I was like, okay, we got to start getting with a boxer, and they kept boxing, and kept boxing, and kept boxing. I was like, have they filmed another scene?
Poorly mimed boxing too.
It's
like within 4 inches of each other, maybe during this.
so because Eugene, you're such a huge fan of Tommy Wiseau, I wanted to show you the trailer for his latest film, Big Shark, which the trailer had literally, I think, like probably 5 frames of shark in it, or maybe 6 frames of shark. It was pretty much just the sharks, like at the very, very end of the trailer, but mostly it's just 2 guys boxing in a ring, which, in my opinion, literally the energy, like that trailer evokes pretty much the entire like essence of The Room. You know, where the narrative of the movie is just, completely, we don't even know what the narrative is. It's just shit happening. And so, like, yeah, it's a movie about a big shark, and the name of it is Big Shark, but most of the trailer is just guys boxing for some reason, and we don't know why. So
sharks have kind of been done in to the point where they did ghost sharks so they could get the thing farther inland, and he's showing like a cityscape. I'm like, unless it flies. Wait, they did that.
Oh, funny stuff. Travis Brown says, is Tommy going to be the crazy fisherman? Who knows what he's going to be in it, or I don't know if he's even going to be in it, but the Rodinella name says the boxing is symbolism. I guess. I don't know what it's symbolizing. That's hilarious.
I mean, it's gonna be fantastic, because I love how the effects look like Sharknado effects from the first one that came out like 10 years ago.
Well, it said something about the copyright was from 2019 on the bottom. I'm like, how long have you had this, like, been pursuing this, like, as a main line, not even like your brainstorming phase, but you went and got the copyright, man.
Angel Rivera says, what up? I was listening while walking the dog, thought the news, the bad guy in Nail Gun gets to use the turd polisher. I don't know if we could do that. That's an interesting concept. Producer Caswell says, pre-polishing a turd, that's a whole new level. This is true. Yes, we are preemptively polishing. I don't think you can polish Big Shark. I think it's going to be absolutely terrible. I think Tommy Wiseau strangely was able to capture lightning in a bottle with The Room. Just unintentional. Just like that's how you fail upward. He failed upwards with that, in my personal opinion. Now, I don't want to disparage Eugene's hero and idol. But I think he failed upward on that. I think he was surrounded by people that knew what they were doing, but he himself was just like, I'm Tommy, whatever. And so, but nonetheless, I don't know how this movie is going to pan out, but I thought you would like to see the trailer. So, I'm
definitely gonna go see it. It's just because it's one of those things. It's so bad, it's probably going to be fun. And honestly, half of filmmaking is if you can get the audience to have fun while watching your film. Is it going to win any awards? Of course not. Is it going to be good or resemble a Hollywood movie in any shape or form? No, absolutely not. But is it something that's going to be fun and memorable to watch? Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean,
I love how Eugene says, go see it, like they're going to let that thing in any reasonable theater.
Rodinella's name says, it says, Tommy gets to say to the shark, you're tearing me apart. You can just see it. You're tearing me apart, Sharky.
I will stand up and cheer if that happens.
That'd be fucking hilarious. That would just be that's just genius. That's just Craven level meta right there is what that is. Oh, so yeah, that should be an entertaining time. Oh, good times. Well, we've got some movies that we got to talk about tonight that we've chosen. I've tried to choose some interesting ones that we have to talk about, but this was kind of a slow week as far as it goes because we're right at the top of April. Technically, this is what we would consider like kind of like coming towards the end of the dump season. But right now, we're kind of in the doldrums of the dump season. The dump season is where like your non-tentpole, very low budget, where all of the in order to kind of fill theaters or make sure that you have a constant revenue stream coming in, studios, even low budget studios will put out stuff to theaters, or they'll put stuff out directly on DVD because there's nothing big coming out in theater themselves. Those are all waiting for, this is kind of like the lull before summer season when all the big movies come out. So this is that kind of dead period where we're going to throw a bunch of shit out there. And unfortunately, that's what we have to talk about are these kinds of movies. And, but we'll get into it.
It's garbage day.
It's garbage season is what it is. It's garbage season. But let's kick this bad boy off. Aaron, what do we have first?
All right, up for April 9th, 2013, we have Infected.
Let's bring up this is the new, and I hope you like it. This is the new horror TV. So do you like it, Eugene? Do you dig it?
I like it. It's so cool.
This is the new horror TV. Let's check out this trailer.
Grandma, there's somebody here to see you.
I understand you're not feeling well. Can you tell me what's ailing you?
Ashley, baby, don't say it. It's getting worse. That's good. Are you okay? My grandma's gone.
Ever been roaming around up here before?
Do you hear this?
What? Nothing. That's what's wrong.
What the hell was that?
Get them in the car.
Lock yourself up. It's a virus. Do not give in to the maddening compulsion to eat human flesh.
Spoilers.
It's too late for me.
I could have just watched the trailer and saved myself like an hour and a half.
You know, right? The trailer is actually kind of impressive, to be fair, because the way it's cut gives it I'll say this: the pacing of the trailer is fuck ton better than the film it was. But Aaron, go ahead and give him the breakdown, and we'll dive into what this thing was.
All right, so directed by Glenn Chiano, written by Glenn Chiano and Robert Tondo, and starring Annie Warden, Michael Nicoloso, Kevin DiCristofano, Janine Kane, Johnny Chico, Tom DiNucci, Christy Carlson Romano, and Williams Forsythe and Michael Madsen. This is a sort of in the camp of the regular end of the world zombie movie, except instead of dying and coming back, it's a little more similar to The Crazies. Except I really don't know why they went with Lyme's disease, a virulent form of Lyme's disease instead of rabies. I always preferred rabies. But a group of people together, family and friends out camping, come under attack and then start getting infected themselves, and then all hell breaks loose. So, yeah.
Yeah. This thing seemed like a glorified college film. Like if you had a senior thesis film and one of the students happened to be rich, this is exactly what it felt like. Because it was shot amateurish The pacing was atrocious. The effects were bad. The gunshot effects were terrible.
They don't even sound like that in like the way they sound in the trailer. They don't even sound like that in the film. Like the trailer seemed to be an after. It's like, oh wow, these gunshots sound bad, so we need to put real gunshot, like good sounding gunshots in the trailer. But in the film, they don't sound like that. They're it's terrible. Like cap guns. So
they couldn't afford real ammunition for the firearms, I don't think, because if you watch a couple of shots, like they don't show the front of the gun. They just rely on the actor to like heave as they pull the trigger.
I'm trying to imagine Michael Madsen and his history as an actor on that set, kind of like, it's just like, and he's like, I'm so serious.
I mean, that had to have been a hell of a payday when Michael Madsen's on the set and he's like, he was in Kill Bill, right? Kill Bill as one of the 5 people, and now he's doing this bullshit.
He was like, I know how a birthday party clown feels, Jesus.
and what's impressive is that, of all the actors there, because they have 2 big names. They've got fucking, Michael Madsen, and they've got William Forsythe. So both of whom have long, history in Hollywood as both as character actors. Obviously Michael Madsen has been in so much. Obviously he was worked with virtually everybody out there. He's a favorite of Quentin Tarantino. He's been, there's whether it's horror or it's action, that's typically where his dad plays tough guys, very similar to Tom Sizemore. And of course, we all remember him from like Reservoir Dogs, and shit like that. So he's a legendary actor. And then William Forsythe as well, who one of my favorite roles of his was in Devil's Rejects. I thought he was amazing in that movie, but he's also worked with some of the biggest directors, other Michael Bay, because he was in The Rock. So he's also got a very storied career, and to see them doing this, it was surprising. It was shocking. Now, I know everybody needs a paycheck, and that's great. But I will give them this. At least throughout the film, of all the actors, Michael and William are the only ones who don't phone it in. They did not need all of their scenes, no matter how ridiculous the lines were, even the whole, like, you must resist the compulsion. That is a hard fucking line. I was sitting there trying to pull that line off with any level of seriousness. And William Forsythe, to his talent, is able to pull that off without sounding hokey, hackneyed, forced. He actually manages to deliver it honestly. And I was like, that man is a rare talent. So we actually get to see them be like really excellent in one of the worst productions I've seen. They're the only reason you watch this.
I want to say now, you say that line comes across as like, okay, you can tell he really tried. Now, did he really try, or is the other acting so bad?
It's just naturally elevated.
Or maybe he was just in that much pain after shooting that movie for that long. I'm pretty sure Michael Madsen's anger at the beginning, because I'm like, he's being kind of harsh when they did the starting flashback, and then they go back to it later. And I'm like, I get it now, because he's like, everyone shut the fuck up.
That was probably the last day of filming, and he was sick and tired.
Every his Madsen's performance never leaves like a particular level of intensity. He's just like really intense like the whole fucking time. Like even when he's having a casual conversation out in the hide, because they're on a hunting, family's on a hunting trip. And so he's out there in the hide, he's talking to his son, and we're supposed to be having this bonding moment. And even in that, he's an intense fucking asshole. It's like, wow, dude. And then throughout the whole thing, he just kind of hovers around 9 and 10. He's like 9 and 10 through the whole thing. It's just a matter of his volume. His volume goes down, but the intensity, it's Michael Madsen intensity throughout the whole thing, which is like really the only consistent, like him and Forsythe are the only consistent things through it, because the pacing was terrible. You're right. It was not shot with any kind of, I felt like it was very unplanned. Like they just stuck the camera and let's go. They didn't have all the money, obviously went to casting. And the reason I think I'm going to go with Eugene, I'm going to go with your rich guy, like we're going to do this film. And, obviously there was money behind it because they got 2 major character actors in this. But the problem with that is, and if you notice, there's a hint. And I don't know if Aaron and you noticed it, but I noticed it, having watched the movie, that the producer's name that the Chad, like his name is Chad, which is fucking hilarious. But the producer's name is all over the fucking movie. So like literally, it's at the end of the trailer, produced by this by this individual. It's like, that's weird to put that on a trailer. Typically, the trailer is hot scenes, big actors, name of movie, move on, is what you want to showcase. So like Big Shark. Big Shark was Tommy Wiseau, director of The Room, big shots, shark, close. That's it. It was still a terrible movie, but nonetheless, there's kind of a formula to doing trailers. But I saw the producer's name in that. Then you watch the movie, and the producer's name is there like twice before you even start the movie. And then at the end of the movie, the first name you see is the producer's name. Like, oh, but don't forget, this was this guy who produced this thing, which makes me think that this was an ego project.
Absolutely. This is definitely an ego project. And what happens a lot of times is you'll have somebody who will come across money. They have it, whatever. They're friends with money. And so they go and they're like, well, you know what? I want to make a film. And it's all about their ego because they want to direct in it. A lot of times on some of these films, people star in it. They want to edit it. They want to shoot it. They want to do all this other kinds of stuff. And then the thing about getting actors like Michael Madsen is this: high budget actors are not hard to get a hold of. They're really not. If you have IMDb Pro, they have their number to their management. You can literally reach out to them. Maybe a couple A-listers like, say, Leonardo DiCaprio is probably hard to get a hold of, but you would be surprised on how easy it is to contact actors. Now, whether it be in the film or not, it's another different story, but it's easy to reach out. And the thing is, a lot of these actors, if you say, hey, I'll pay you $1,000 a day, I'll pay you $2,000 a day to be in my film, and they got nothing else going on, they're going to go and do it. Yeah, they're like, why not?
Easy paycheck. Yeah. And the guy's name was Chad Verdi. Chad Verdi was Chad Verdi was the producer on it. But he wasn't the only producer. You had Michelle Verdi, which I think may be his wife. And then you have Gino Pereira, and then you have Noah Kraft, and then you have David Gear was co-producing. Then you have a whole bunch of executive producers, and then Nicholas Bellotto was the associate producer. But the only person whose name is on the thing as far as production goes, like up there with like billing before even your actors, like billing. I'm Chad, Verdi. I was like, okay, so they really want to sell this whole. I'm thinking that this was Chad's project and that he is the one who produced it. He was like, I want to do this. I have a bunch of money to throw around and I want to do a horror movie. And I think it'll be great. And, here's this script that is not well thought out, that pretty much takes from Nightmare on Elm Street, Dawn of the Dead, 28 Days Later. And I will say, I think Stakeland, the vampire movie Stakeland with Nick D'Amici, because because some of the more expository moments I felt took a lot of inspiration from that film, but that film does it so much better because Stakeland was solid because of its characterization. When you have these kind of post-apocalypse is defined by the characters within it because there's really nothing in the landscape. You either have monsters or you have lack of resource. So we need really compelling characters to draw us in. You think The Road. Viggo Mortensen and it's the characters that draw that shit. Stakeland was great because Nick D'Amici and his chemistry with everybody else drives that movie and makes him amazing to watch. This one, there's no characterization whatsoever. We have dick, asshole, absentee, not really there. Everybody's, and nobody's really committed. So we don't really have anybody to root for. And it's oddly edited and oddly paced. So I think this was just like, I've got money, make me a fucking movie. And
it's not even like make me a movie. It's I want to make a movie for me, because the best thing to do in a situation, if let's say you have money, let's say you have $1 million, you want to make a film. The best thing you can do is hire an experienced producer, hire an experienced director, and let that director bring their team in, because that's how studios do it. That's exactly how studios go, where you get a lot of these people, they're like, oh, well, making a film is easy. And they want to do so much of it. So they don't know how to plan for a movie. They don't know how to do your table reads, do your pre-production, do all this other kinds of stuff. And even if it's not planned, let's say you get an experienced cinematographer to work for you. If there's no plan in place, what is the cinematographer going to do? Like, it's like what are going to do? You end up being on set without any kind of plan, without any kind of a shot list, and you're just kind of shooting off the hip. Basically, you're just on the fly, and you're kind of, well, this is like, I mean, they could have a really good cinematographer. They could, I don't know, they could have had a really good cinematographer, but if they don't know what the plan is, what the angles, how the basically what the lighting should be, what are they going to do? Their hands are tied.
Right.
And there's a couple things, which, the commentary on that is they probably entered it thinking, because you say, you get these professionals and know what they're doing. Well, that's to make money. That's to, at least with a plan of going forward, make more money. I don't think they ever thought past that because, like you said, vanity project. And there's a few things that point out. One is it's got some exposition. It's kind of the second you start, it's a little bit derivative because it has a feeling like, obviously, Michael Madsen talks like Michael Madsen. He's got small or quiet, slightly rough tone, but it feels like Apocalypse Now exposition. And then you get the same thing, and I kind of figured out what was going on there towards the end, I think. But you get at the end when it feels like it should be ending, and you just have a brief, like, happily ever after sort of moment. Well, that one looks just dead on like Night of the Living Dead with a black and white shot from overhead at a Dutch angle. And then they go into this like half-ass intro to a sequel where, and this is really what screamed at me, vanity project, people just throwing money at it, is all of this gear, this truck they build, all that stuff, and they don't use it for anything worthwhile. And you've got voiceover by Michael Madsen. Like, he can only afford to pay so much of it in voiceover fee instead of live action acting. So I'm betting he paid a lower rate for that. And that's what he got is that end segment. And then I'm like, it gets even worse because they do all that. And then all of a sudden there's this after credits scene with the pregnant mom. And I'm like, the timing doesn't work out. Like, she was already hyper freaking pregnant when that movie started. He's had all this time to build this truck, reestablish this colony and everything, and she's still pregnant. So
and grow a beard and get fucking shredded. Because I mean, so because he's not depicted that way early in the film. He's depicted as kind of like a loser asshole that his dad is not really proud of. And now all of a sudden he's a blacksmithing fucking just post-apocalyptic warrior who's just like got this full-on like man beard. Oh, I work with steel. And post-apocalyptic warrior going out there running, doing runs and stuff to find supplies and gear and all the shit. And she was still pregnant. She was still pregnant and got her. And why would you even do that? Why would you bring her in? It's fucking ridiculous. But
yeah, like just, if she was like an actual zombie, I could see it. It's like, oh, zombie baby still in the zombie womb. Like, bro, it's Lyme disease. You don't stay like that.
And yeah, that seemed like kind of like just thrown in there because when they mentioned the Lyme disease thing, I honestly thinking they were going to try and expand this to like the Montauk Project and kind of trying to make a bigger mythology here, because already there's conspiracy theories around that, how Lyme disease was created. It's not. This is all, it's fictional, but the movie could have taken that direction and probably opened up the world a little bit more and allowed them a little bit more area to play and to do more fun things. But because they pigeonholed themselves so much, ostensibly because of a lack of budget, because of what they were paying Madsen and Forsythe, and of course constructing the vehicle towards the end of which they used for one shot, and I just think that it was all over the place. It was very disjointed, and as Eugene pointed out, the pacing was problematic, editing was problematic, special effects were off. The trailer was fucking so much better than the movie. Completely misleading trailer, which obviously was cut after the film was done because they fixed everything as far as pacing and timing. And then of course I cannot get over Forsythe's and Madsen's their wardrobe. The most ridiculous fucking shit I've ever seen. Like, why? Like, why would you wear that? Why would you wear that fucking that hat was too small. The clothes are not conducive to hunting. Everyone out there is wearing, like clothes that would be suitable for going out and hunting, except for Michael Madsen, and who's swinging the shotgun around with absolute fucking abandon because the actor knows that there's nothing in it. So he's literally like, that's not gun safety at all. Because there's times when he like levels that fucker off at like his kid levels the fucker off at somebody on the board, and I'm like, It's like, that's not good. And then William Forsythe with the platinum blonde hair and the beard that goes from the mustache to the sides. I don't know who chose that, but I guess they were just like, fuck it, let him do whatever he wants. Kooky actor, but
skinned and dressed a deer in a 3-piece suit. He did everything in a 3-piece suit. I'm like, does this guy fuck in a 3-piece suit?
It's only through the little zipper.
Yeah.
Oh, so absolutely, just absolutely weird. But these are the kind of the perils of ego filmmaking. When you go into it, yeah, if you've got the money, you can secure who you want. You go, I'm going to pay whatever, no, I'm going to spare no expense. I'm going to John Hammond this shit, bring in whatever actors I want and do whatever I want. But the problem was he secured 2 solid actors, but nothing else was good because he secured the actors were secured before anything else. There's like not your camera, not your effects department, not your sound, not your lighting. I mean, everything was just atrocious and fell to the wayside.
One of the biggest problems with ego filmmaking also is no one tells you no. When you are the money person and you want to be that involved, no one's gonna tell you no because they're afraid they're gonna get fired. So you basically have free reign. So if it's kind of thing where he's like, oh, well, I want that hat. I want that style of mustache. And if Michael Madsen, say he's making $1,000 a day and they're going to get him for like 20 days, do the math on that. And then before day one, it's like, here's this hat. Do you think he's going to give up $20,000 to say that hat sucks or it doesn't fit? It just no. Just absolutely no. So he's going to wear the tiny hat or have the platinum blonde hair. They're going to have the stupid outfits because they want that paycheck. And that's that problem. When you have good films, it's usually a team effort. So you have the production designer who's talking like, hey, this is the best for production. The cinematographer is talking about this is the best for cinematography. And you have this collaborative effort of all these experts in their field that come together to create something really good. But when that doesn't happen and you have one person calling all the shots and everyone else is just yes men, that's what happens.
Well, and when there's no passion either, like you've got one person that's passionate and he's probably an idiot, and everybody else is just kind of there to take home that paycheck. They're going to put in just enough to get that paycheck in their pocket, and then they're on to something they feel is going to be worthwhile.
Yeah, because like honestly, like the cinematographer, production designer, you think they went into the project being, this is my big break. This is my trip to Hollywood. No, it's a paycheck. I get paid for a month. That's it.
You're muted, Jay.
Dang, I was muted. Sorry about that. But at a certain point in an actor's career, Hollywood does stop calling the way they used to. You may get brought up by a director that loves you. That was like, we're going to have Michael Madsen in this, or we're going to have, Rob Zombie might do something. So we're definitely going to bring William Forsythe back. You have directors that love you, that are known to have their kind of stable of actors that they constantly go back to. But that, doesn't last forever. And unfortunately, you got to pick up the jobs you got to pick up. So I completely understand that from a business perspective. Man's got to eat. People got to eat. People got to pay the bills. People got to pay mortgages. It's still a job is what it is. And you're just working freelance. So you take the gigs that you can get. And just like, it always just, as a fan, I hate watching the decline when you begin to see, the actors that you love, especially the character actors you love, and eventually you see them start showing up on DVD box covers, doing the gun pose.
Yep.
Which is that seems to be the arc. You start off doing these small things, showing your range. You get pigeonholed into a particular character. You wind up playing that character enough that eventually you become Michael Madsen playing Michael Madsen in virtually everything that he does, and eventually he's relegated to Michael Madsen on cover holding gun. I mean, unless you're really lucky, but those are like the Tom Hanks, the Denzel Washingtons of film. They're few and far between, but it's always a shame. But at least they're out there still working and paying the bills.
Well, I mean, the difference is when you have these A-listers like Tom Hanks, is that they're able to generate enough money off of their films that they can be extremely selective in what they do. You would never see Tom Hanks doing something like this bad caliber or Brad Pitt or anybody like that, because they have the money where if the right project doesn't come around for 3 years, they're fine. but a lot of the character actors never get that big payday, that big multi-million-dollar film that can make them last, or maybe they were bad with their finances of like some actors, and all of a sudden you have to take these, and then because you take them, your star power declines, so therefore you have to take more of them because you still have to pay your bills, and your star power drops to the point where your name doesn't have the same value. And that's what actors make their money. When you have the name to carry a film, you make money. When you lose that ability, you don't make money anymore.
There is one exception to that rule, though. Nicolas Cage.
Yeah,
how
Nicolas
many
Cage is an
bad
exception to
films-
every rule.
Like I said, there's an exception to that rule. There's an exception to that rule, and that is Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is the exception because I don't care what he was in or what he was doing. It was Nicolas Cage, and he will always have, because we always know, no matter what Nicolas, there's always the suspense. Nicolas Cage put something out. The question will be, will this be atrocious or will this be epic Nicolas Cage? You know, and so these movies come along. They're like on a fucking conveyor belt of the movies he's choosing. It's like, what will it be? It's fucking roulette. It's almost Russian roulette, because I saw a couple of Nick Cage films made me want to blow my fucking brains out. Like that Beast or the Prey one that he did, where it's like, you know, that was just, what are you doing? But then he turns around and does something like Mandy or Color Out of Space or Pig, and then you look at all these like, oh, I don't know. And it's always just, you know, a shot in the dark. Is this going to be good? Then you have like the unbearable weight of massive talent. I was like, what the fuck? Holy shit, this movie is amazing.
Oh, that movie is so good. But see, that's the thing. Dude, he is, and I'll give you credit on that one, where he is the exception to the rule because his name carries, because it declined so fast. Most of the time, it declines over years upon years and years. But then when you have Nicolas Cage, it's like, man, Nicolas Cage is working with like Michael Mann and Michael Bay and all this other kind of stuff. He wins an Oscar, and then it's like straight to DVD movie. And you're like, wait, what?
Right.
That's weird. Another straight to DVD. Huh? National Treasure. Oh, okay. Maybe whatever. Oh,
he's got what it takes. I swear. You know, you watch some of the stuff the way he delivers. The one thing that gets me, National Treasure, every time is when he's in. It's just moments, little nuanced moments. I love the moment when he's sitting in the elevator and he's got the flowers. They're you know, they're part of the plan, and he's got the flowers, and he was just like, "Oh, you smell nice." He's like, "That's the flowers," and he's like, "No, it's not." You know, but and so he's got the talent to deliver these little moments that are just fantastic. But then you see, like, he does, like, it's weird. Like I said, exception to the rule. Willy's Wonderland. The man don't even have to speak.
He's just a surreal, rage-filled unicorn, is what he is.
That's high praise.
See, that's the thing. Like, you see that they go through up periods and down periods. Every actor does it, but you got to keep skin in the game. Like, if you drop off completely, that's when you're just about done shy of like absolute blind, sheer psychotic dumb luck. But you have got to stay in game, and it sucks. You know, they've always got to be weighing, like, is this the one that's going to kill my name so bad that I can't come back? But you have to kind of take the paycheck until you get to a point where, like, you're like, I'm not touching a dick. But until you get there.
Now,
and see, this was a really interesting topic, because I was talking with some of my friends about kids of celebrities, how because they come from money, they have the patience to wait for the big roles. Whereas up and coming starving actors who just move out to LA and they're waitresses, they have to take everything they can get. And sometimes a project can damage your career more than it can raise your career, but you got to get that payday. So that's why it's a lot harder for a lot of these actors coming in to really get off the ground, because all of a sudden you do 2 or 3, 4 bad movies. Then they're like, is it the movie or is it you? And that's how agencies will look at you.
Right. Oh, it's such a bummer. Oh man, I see we got some new people in the chat that have joined us. I see. Joshua Lee has showed up. Good to see you, Joshua Lee, as well as Raven Darkstar is here. Good to see you, Raven. And I see as well Christo Kiernium. Good to see you, Christo. Says hey, JL, Aaron, Eugene, and everyone. Good to see you. But Cindy Sue is here as well. Good to see you, Cindy. But yeah, it was a shame seeing such such cherished classic, or I would say, such cherished character actors be kind of reduced to this. At least they did their job. They came in, they were professional. I don't, that's what they do. But yeah, in fact, it was an example of ego filmmaking. It was not something that saw really just straight to DVD. Let's make a movie. Let's make a quick horror movie, throw some names on it and see if we can get some money coming back in. And from what I can tell from, kind of like looking at it, the people who were behind this have not really gone on to do anything else. And I think it's because it was very obvious it was an ego project. This was very much just, centered around this one guy's vision. And he, that was, maybe people don't want to work with him again, but, he may have blown his load. I mean, for lack of a better term, may have blown his load on this one. And that was pretty much it. But
I think it comes to where they're like, yeah, I can do this. I can do it. It's me. I'm the great. I know. And then they actually put it out there and they hear the bad receptions and the bad critical reviews and the poor performance and DVD sales. And it honestly, it's a reality check. And a lot of people who do these ego projects and these first time filmmakers, they don't make a second film because they're like, it's so discouraging the first time, the humbling experience, they're done.
Yeah. All right. So the question we have for you is, what is, in your opinion, is the best Michael Madsen role? You can let us know in the comments down below in the live chat if you're here today, or at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
Best Michael Madsen role.
Oh, yeah, it's Reservoir Dogs, dude. That dancing, that, and Singing in the Rain from Clockwork Orange. Oh my God. Two best dance scenes in any movie, and they're terrifying. Goodbye Horses is also terrifying. It's not good. It's not good at all.
There is one moment I enjoyed of him. He did a TV show where he was like a gambler in Vegas, and the show was on one season. It was trash, but there was this awesome moment where he was sitting there, he was playing Texas Hold'em with somebody, and they deal out the cards, and the other person looks at his cards, and Michael Madsen goes all in, and the guy's like, "What? You didn't even look at your cards?" And he goes, "I saw your face when you saw yours."
I do. Yeah, Reservoir Dogs was excellent. But I'm gonna say, and I also loved him in The Getaway, because he was just a classic, just, bad guy in The Getaway. And, it was Alec Baldwin, Kim Basinger when they were back in their, leading sexy phases. But I liked him in The Getaway as the bad guy in that. I thought he was really good in Donnie Brasco. But I will give him this. I was surprised. I also dug him in Thelma and Louise. But what really shocked me was him in Free Willy.
Wasn't expecting that,
because you don't expect it. Because it was an opportunity to see him do something other than what he normally does. And I love it when actors get a chance to flex to kind of flex their wings and showcase that, Michael Madsen doesn't always have to be a hard ass. He's got a range, and he's got to a degree, he has these leading man characteristics. But he typically gets stuck in these roles where he's playing, bad guys, gangsters, enforcers, like hitmen, or somebody to that degree. But I liked him in that because I like it when they get a chance to flex. He's like, wow, Michael Madsen does have a bit of a softer side. He can play a very kind of gregarious and open role, which I thought was quite impressive. So I always kind of dig it when you get to see stuff like that, because, it's like watching Denzel first time you see him in Training Day.
Yeah.
You get to see him do something completely different. And I like it when they get those opportunities. But obviously, Reservoir Dogs,
and Kill Bill,
legend, Kill Bill as well. Dude, he was mean as fuck in that movie.
Man, that was a great, just so many great moments that he has in Kill Bill. This
is for breaking my brother's heart. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. I see a lot of love in there. A lot of love for Kill. Oh, there's Rodnell's name says Kill Bill. Sarcasm says Mr. Blonde. And then Josh Lee just doesn't know who that is. Tony Regime says Reservoir Dogs. Excellent. But yeah, Michael Madsen. Good. 40 years in Hollywood. 40-year career. Over 170 films to his name. So many to choose from. And I see Sally Skellington has joined us. Good to see you, Sally. Thanks so much for being here. It's a shit. I have to rewind. So, but thank you so much for being here, Sally. Raven Darkshire says Michael Madsen's Sci-Fi Channel's Warships was so horrible. His uniform was such a mismatch. It wasn't even a uniform. and he says, I think the first movie I saw Michael Madsen was a weird Skinamax movie. Probably.
Probably. But all right. So the next movie we have coming up.
Yes.
It's so bad.
So amazing.
It's so bad. All right.
Beautiful.
The next movie we have coming up is Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, which was released April 10th, 1987. Roll it.
Oh, wait, no, I messed it up. There we go. And let's bring out for those who've said it's a little small, I will make some adjustments and I will try to make this a little bit larger. But for right now, you're watching it on the 20-inch.
The nightmare began with Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Need a ride, Santa Claus?
Oh, no, not exactly.
But it isn't over yet. In fact, the ultimate nightmare is about to begin. All over again. Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2.
Hey, you little bastard!
All Ricky ever wanted was a little kindness.
Very naughty.
And all he ever got was pain.
He was naughty.
Now he wants revenge. And this time,
Garbage day!
he's going to get it. Step by step.
Gotcha,
Weapon
bitch.
by weapon.
Every damn time.
Best kill in the film.
Victim by victim.
There's a lot of voltage in that battery.
The terror's coming home. And he's all
Just like,
grown
why
up.
did you do that?
Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2.
I've got a present for you!
The terrifying suspense shocker you've been waiting for. Last time it thrilled you. This time,
Bingo!
it'll kill you. Silent Night Releasing Corporation presents Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2.
Oh no, my gasoline and Max collection.
All right, you have Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, directed by Lee Harry, and stars Eric Freeman, James L. Newman, Elizabeth Caitlin, and Gene Miller. And basically, in a nutshell, you have our main character, Ricky, talking with a psychiatrist, explaining why he did all these bad things, and then he ends up just going on a killing rampage after killing the psychiatrist. And I can't say shit gets real because half this film is just the first movie. So it's like shit has already gotten
almost
real.
exactly 30 minutes. Yeah.
Like it's shit has gotten real, and it's a recap.
I legitimately would say that it's really more like Silent Night, Deadly Night 1.5 because there's so much that's cut back. You know, all of the there's not a lot that really goes on in the movie itself. You've got the sequence where Ricky freaks out. He does his mass murders. Then you've got the sequence where he's being interviewed by the psychiatrist before he murders the psychiatrist. Then you have all the flashbacks to what happened to his brother, because this is the baby that was in the car that occurred in the first film. And so where his brother, I think it was Billy. So Billy was the one who grew up and became like this fucking just straight unit, and then goes mad and kills everybody dressed as Santa in the first film. Ricky's his little brother, and he does the exact same shit. And he's abused by this Catholic nun, and eventually becomes a psycho, and then goes on to don a Santa suit and try to kill her as well. There's not much to it. It's kind of like just the first film told again. And the reason I think why we get this kind of like laziness, this unintentional hilarity, was because the first film was shocking. The fact that the first film, when it dropped and people saw it was like a Santa Claus as a killer, it, you know, the whole the poster of like the arm coming out of the chimney with the axe. There were mothers across the country that freaked out when they heard about this movie coming out. It was coming out at Christmas time, about a killer Santa Claus. They were worried about the effect it would have on children. Children would be afraid of Santa because Santa could come in and could kill you. And given the extreme violence that occurs within the first 10 minutes of that first film, people boycotted it. There were protests outside of movie theaters, and the film was released and then it was quickly pulled before it got kind of a quiet re-release later on. But around Christmas time, people freaked the fuck out because of that. The extreme vitriolic response from the public. They're like, we've got to capitalize on this, so we've got to release another one. That's why now this one had like the Christmas ornament with the reflection of the dude with the gun in it, and which felt very kind of like trashy paperback style. I kind of got that feeling from the cover, but they went back and they just tried to recapture it again, and unfortunately they didn't add anything to it. But I think that's where we get the unintentional hilarity of Ricky and his Jim Carrey like facial expressions as he's like so over the top in what he's doing, that made for a cult classic, but not for the reasons I think they intended.
Well, so you got so I was looking at the making of this film, and one of the things was the director wanted a bigger budget. I mean, he got like basically a next to nothing budget, and so when he asked for like, hey, can I get something that's at least reasonable to do a sequel, the producers said just use footage from the first film. Like, so I mean, he was literally like tied behind his back. I don't know what the exact number was, but literally tied behind his back. He said that he did not have enough to make a full film in of itself. So he had to go back and use like the 30 minutes of footage just to make like a runtime for like a feature-length film. And so it was basically like they already had an arm and a leg tied behind their back before they even started shooting this film.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. If you take, like, I don't know if they started it knowing that they were going to, redline this son of a bitch to see if they could make the meter spin back around again, but the acting, a lot of it isn't quality, but more on that in a minute. But if you kind of look at how it's shot, the sets, the lighting, and everything, the audio, it's not really bad. They did a poor quality of maintaining the film, because if you look, it's shot, it's from film that still has grain and stuff, hasn't been restored and everything, which actually is kind of cool to me, but I know a lot of people don't like that. But the acting, I honestly think at a point he decided to go over the top with it intentionally. And the one thing that makes me think that is when they turn up at the nun's house and her address is 666. Nobody is taking this shit seriously anymore, because there's no way this Mother Superior is going to live at 666 any damn where. So
you're right. Especially a nun. Like, come on.
Yes, especially like the Catholic orphanage. It was like, what the is like that, come on, guys. It's like, well, it was the only place it was available. I mean,
she's like in the kitchen with a knife, like saying everything shy of "come at me, motherfucker." I'm like, there's no way they took this seriously. I'm like, this is beautiful.
And I'm saying that because apparently, looking at what you were saying, Eugene. So on the commentary, apparently the filmmakers themselves were paid a dismal amount of money to make the movie. And originally they were told to just essentially re-edit the first film so that they could pass it off as a sequel. And that was the original instruction. Just take the first movie, re-edit the shit out of it, and pass it off as like another film. It was like, what the fuck? So
yeah,
which is weird.
The first one could afford breasts too. They couldn't even afford breasts for the second one.
Right.
I mean, you get side glimpses, but that's it.
but still able to afford and like out on the street, a walking shootout, like a fucking mass murder, and an exploding car, which are
and
not
a stuntman that's willing to stand there while that car flips in his direction.
Yeah, that stunt man was rather calm as a car is flying towards him.
And it's despicably. I mean, okay, now I don't want to say despicably. It is offensively weird how fucking like strong they make this guy. Like, I know he's built, and if you look at Eric Freeman's later roles, he typically played buff guys. Like, I think he appeared on like the old, he did an appearance on the old Superboy television series, and he also showed up kind of here and there, just like little bits pieces, but people kind of forgot about him. But the idea that it makes it so absurd, and I think that's why it has its reputation as a black comedy. It's like it's got its cult following as a black comedy because the movie is just absurd beyond belief. The first film was actually I thought fairly grounded. That you happen to have this unique situation where you have this killer dressed Santa Claus who like murders a family or murders the parents of this family, rapes a mom and murders her, and it's just absolutely horrible and gross. And then the kid grows up all traumatized and shit, and snaps and goes on when he sees somebody having sex, and then goes on a killing spree. That kind of like there's a little bit of grounding there, but this one is it's almost cartoonish in its depiction. Not only because Eric Freeman is like his entire future has been he became a meme. The garbage day scene became a meme, but you can say that his performance kind of saved the movie and saved the franchise, because without him, if that had been a bit more of a nuanced performance, I'm going to bring some like depth to this thing, there probably wouldn't have been a 3 or a 4 or a 5. We wouldn't have gotten Mickey Rooney in a Silent Night, Deadly Night film had it not been for Eric Freeman. So, and it's wild because they caught up with him later because he kind of disappeared. And the filmmakers, when they were doing kind of like a revisit of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, they were trying to get in touch with him. Nobody could find him. And then all of a sudden he kind of pops up out of nowhere. And I think it was like back in 2013. And he had no idea about the status of the movie. Like he was like he had no idea it had blown up into this kind of like internet thing where people were like, oh, fuck yeah, man, like garbage day. And we're going to apply this to so many different things. And he was like, people still interested in me? That's fucking weird. And so, but he built this following up like that. And this is why it's so weird to hang it. But I think we can say that the survival of the franchise itself, all the way up to the 2012 kind of reboot or remake that we got with Jamie King, and Malcolm McDowell. The reason we got that is simply because of Eric Freeman, which I don't think enough people give him enough credit for.
But okay. But looking, we're like, okay, I can give it to you the fact that his acting helped continue the franchise. But was this a franchise we wanted to continue?
I think so.
Yes. Yeah, I liked these when I was younger a lot. I'm surprised that he didn't know, wasn't in Target or something and couldn't figure out why people in the distance are like, garbage day at him.
People just walking down the street and seeing him, garbage day. And he's like,
yeah, I like these when I was younger. I've always liked them, but I've grown to appreciate this one more as the years have gone on. But they are like popcorn horror movies. They're a good fun time when you just want to chill out and get a drink on, and you don't need a deep plot, or you're throwing a party and people can't pay constant attention. Preferably a Christmas party, but given the fact that damn near a quarter or more of this movie takes place in the middle of summer. All of his flashbacks are in the middle of spring and summer. The only time it's Christmas again is when he goes after the nun. So I don't know how they stayed in theme with the title of this. But I enjoy that. I enjoy them. I still like them if I want to watch something that's not too serious or too all consuming.
Oh, it's like I said, it's cartoonish in its depiction, even in its kills. The jumper cable kill or the umbrella kill, as Casey Cooper brings up. Hey, Vera Lucia Campos is here. Good to see you, Vera. But yeah, it's absolutely absurd. It's almost, like I said, it's almost cartoonish in that respect. But I honestly think, given this was 1987, and the first film came out a few years before that, so 1987, this one comes out. But we have seen a trend nowadays where a horror franchise, can move into camp, and that can kind of keep it alive. Leprechaun did it, Child's Play did it, a number of horror franchises out there. Critters has done it. So if you look at a number of franchises out there that have, keeping the straight horror is difficult because you have to add something new to it. Like, for example, this is a sequel. You need it bigger. You need more money. You need bigger explosions. You need higher stakes. You need more violence. And you need better and more intricate kills. That's all very expensive, but those are that's where you have to go if you're going to make a sequel that expands the universe itself. That one, they arguably don't do that in this film. In fact, it's demonstrably less. So they were kind of stuck in the situation where they had to try something. And I think that it was unintentional, but Freeman's campy performance, the campiness of it, managed to salvage the franchise and keep it going, just like Seed of Chucky, Bride of Chucky, or before they got into Cult and, the Curse and Cult, which enabled it to be, to get back to the horror thing. You've got to reinvent things. The straight horror of the first film, you really couldn't continue that because it's just a Santa Claus chopping people up. And what's the point? You just watch, rinse, repeat. No, do something different. Arguably, I think that Freeman's performance was the only thing you could do different. That's a risky choice. If he was involved in that and said, I'm going to run the character this way, then either the producers, the filmmakers were like, we're going to get the fuck out of your way, just run with it because we got nothing. It's like, there's so little going into this movie that fuck it, let him do whatever he wants. If he likes it, let's. So maybe I wish I could talk to him and find out how much creative power he had in how he ran his character, or if that was a choice that the filmmaker said, you know what, the only thing that's going to salvage this movie is if the character of Ricky is so completely over the top and just like ludicrous that people will find it darkly funny instead of just a straight horror film.
And see, honestly, I feel like it's definitely the filmmakers because the premise, the shot choice, it wasn't from the get-go. Even when he's talking with the psychiatrist, some of the line deliveries are so over the top, or these dramatic pauses that don't need dramatic pauses. And then it's like you get him walking down the street, shooting random people. A car flips by and explodes.
After he shoots it in the radiator of all places.
After he shoots it at the radiator. Like, what car is going to do
and
that?
the radiator's fine when it flips.
Yeah. So, like, the filmmakers, they're probably like, okay, we were hired to re-edit the first film. We actually got a little bit of budget. We might as well just go over the top and just go for broke, basically.
It's like, we can't afford good actors. We can't even afford a full runtime. Can you get me a Pinto, a lot of explosives, and a landscaping trailer?
I think it's a good example, and it's become so commonplace nowadays. I think that Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 was an early example of how switching from just straight horror to campiness, so that camp can actually save a franchise. Because I don't think that we would have gotten any additional ones. We certainly would have gotten the 2012 reboot, and obviously I think that there's another one coming out either this year or next year. I think there's one planned. So we're still getting these films, and while they may be low budget, you may be just the same thing over and over again. It's still opportunities for people to work. It's opportunities to provide jobs, and you gotta love it when a production gets the money behind it, because everything you do is an opportunity. Those actors that are going to get cast in that would never get that opportunity if Eric hadn't given if they hadn't given the go ahead for him to do that, or if they hadn't thought that up on the fly and been like, "Fuck it, man, let's just go for broke and just Eric, be fucking zany. Just give me the zany delivery. Give us the garbage day, and we're gonna go with take number 9 when he's just so annoyed that he's just gonna be like, ugh." So
if they drop a reboot part 2, I'm gonna go down to the freaking theaters and boycott. Just get people with signs that says, "Say, hey, garbage day."
But that's tough, Sequels are always a bitch, and especially in the 80s. We talked about it before with especially with action franchises. Sequels have got to be bigger. That was sequelitis. We saw that with Phantasm. Phantasm 2 had to be bigger, more money, more action, it had to have fucking explosions and shit in it. None of the cool, surrealistic, dream-like horror that we had in the first movie that Coscarelli was really his vision. We needed to go big, so we need the fucking quad shotgun and fucking just chaos and more orb, more spheres running around. It's always got to be bigger and better, because in order to justify its existence. But, you make do with what you have. Smart filmmaking choices in this one, which is weird to say giving Silent Night, Deadly Night. I think this is an example of they gave them shit.
Fuck you, Eugene.
They got shit to work with, and they spun the best they could with it, and that's all you can do. And it takes a smart director to do that to make a cult classic. To make a cult
took that
classic
turd
film.
and they didn't just polish it. They put it lovingly in their hands and they pressed that fucker down into a diamond.
Just squeeze that bitch. Sheer force of will. We're gonna make an enjoyable film.
So on that note, I want to ask the audience, what is your favorite entry in Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise? There is a bunch of them. I think the first one came out in 84, this one 87. You have 3, 4, 5, and then the remake from 2012. Let us know in the comments below or shoot us an email at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
I honestly think I have love for the first one. I have so much love for the very first one because it was just brutal and violent and not what you would expect. It's like, holy shit, Christmas fucking horror story. Just brutal. But there's a guilty pleasure for part 5, which was The Toy Maker with Mickey Rooney, because it's so fucking insane. With like that film in the third act goes so totally fucking bonkers. You would think like it was directed by Lars von Trier. It's just beyond absurd, just next level absurdity. But still, Mickey Rooney's in there, be like, I'm old Mickey Rooney. Oh, I'm a bad guy. And it was like, I gotta fucking love him for it. He gave it his all. The screen legend gave it his all. So, but I'm going to go with the first one, but with an honorable mention of part 5, the 5th in the franchise. Fucking crazy.
I have to go with the first one. I like the first one. That way, it's just because the thing is, it's so shocking. You see an icon that is Santa Claus running around killing people. It has some great kills in it, and just some like solid, great moments of it. And that's what really sucks about the second one. Is kind of like I'm watching and I'm like, yep, it's the same film. I've seen this already.
Well, then you just watch part 2. You've got the first film and you've got Garbage Day. I don't know what the problem is, Eugene.
Garbage Day catches you up to speed.
I will say
I will have to take and put this lovingly back in the closet there for another few years because it's one of those like cocaine. I'll just do too much of it and eventually I'll be ruined for it.
So Kazan brings up the antler kill in the first was epic. It was. There's a lot of good kills in the first movie. In the first one, there were. And if anybody is interested, and I have to throw this out there because it's available right now on streaming, even though it's kind of out of season. But if you get the opportunity, check out the movie, what was it? Christmas, Bloody Christmas. And Christmas, Bloody Christmas is actually quite good because it's about a robot Santa. So it's essentially if the Terminator were a Santa Claus. And then it just goes haywire because it's like these military robots that are repurposed to become like mall Santas and shit. And they have like pre-programmed like, and then the thing like goes haywire and resort, and then like it defaults back to its root settings as like a battlefield robot, and it just starts fucking massacring everybody. It's amazing. It's directed by the dude who directed VFW, so it's that classic kind of like the neon, the neon and the what is that color? The color technique where you have like large swaths of color all over the place, where it's like pinks and greens and purples.
Spray bomb.
It's wild, but it's definitely an awesome film. Yes, Robo Santa. Essentially, it was a robot Santa, and so, but yeah, it's an awesome fucking movie, and lots of gory, nasty kills in it and shit. So I highly recommend if you want that kick and you don't want to watch Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, you can definitely check out Christmas, Bloody Christmas. All right, we ready to jump into our third one? Which is crazy because it's another fucking Michael Madsen movie. So here we go. For our third film tonight, we've got, I think I saw something before. I saw Extra J is here. Good to see Extra J. Thanks so much for being in here tonight. Good to see you. Let me see. Yes, for our third film tonight, released April 10th, 1998. I was 18 years old. We have the sequel, another sequel, Species 2. Let's check this bad boy out. Bring up the horror TV.
When I heard they were going to send a mission to Mars, I strongly urged the government to reconsider.
On what grounds?
On grounds that alien DNA might remain on the planet. But any human attempt to violate the planet would result in biological contamination.
Excursion, this is Houston. Do you copy? Do you read Excursion?
Son of a senator, and now the first man on Mars.
Patrick Ross returned home a hero.
Darlene, you're going to be president of the United States someday.
A champion.
My sister decided to join us.
And a carrier.
There's something wrong with me, Dad.
Of the deadliest DNA in the universe.
We got another alien on the loose.
If he's reproducing, we've got potential offspring.
Last time I fought with that alien, I almost got myself killed.
Now, the only chance for the human race.
Eve was recreated from a frozen lab embryo.
Is the woman who tried to destroy it.
We need your help to find Patrick.
Recreated by science, she is now half human.
I see what he sees. There's a supermarket, a big supermarket.
In a supermarket.
Got it.
Estrogen levels peaking. It's like she's in heat.
Her loyalty is to man. But her instinct is to mate.
We've got two aliens running around. If these two were to mate, the resulting pure strain of offspring would be unstoppable.
This is like some sort of damn freak show.
They're gonna kill me.
Our greatest threat is our only hope.
Half human, huh?
My ass. Species 2.
Oh, I feel your judgment. Anyway, Species 2, directed by Peter Medak and written by Chris Brancato, starring Michael Madsen, Natasha Henstridge, Marge Helgenberger, McKelty Williamson, George Dzunda, James Cromwell, and Justin Lazard. So the film picks up after the events of the first movie. And oh yeah, a lot of love for Forrest Whitaker in the first movie, but this this film picks up after the events of the first film, where the I guess Natasha Henstridge has returned, playing a new version of Syl, now named Eve, who's a little bit more under control than the first version was. And apparently, after astronauts who went to Mars returned, they were infected with the alien DNA, and they the heroes now need Eve's help to try and track the thing down before it impregnates all these women, all their its offspring. Then like run loose and ramped on the planet, and things culminate in a massive gooey alien sex grossness, kind of like finale. But I have to admit, with Extra J, I'm just here for the Madsen one-liners. I get it. I totally do. So the biggest issue that I had with this one, is the problem is that what made the first one great and what made this one, why this one failed. The first one capitalized on the fact that it had an extremely strong cast. You had Michael Madsen, you had Marge Helgenberger, you had Forrest Whitaker, you had Alfred Molina, Ben Kingsley, you had Michelle Williams playing the young version of Syl, Natasha Henstridge in her first major role playing the adult version, and plenty of boobies and sparing use of CGI in order to indicate the transformation aspects. Lots of gratuitous sex scenes, but the only real big CGI that was at the very end of the movie when they were depicting her in full transformation, and it was limited, it was sparing. So, and of course, designs of H.R. Giger, who was the inspiration behind the alien, but the creation of the alien species. So, everything that was working forward in the first film, unfortunately, none of that returned for the second film. You did have Michael Madsen, and you did have Marge Helgenberg came back, obviously paid a lot of money because I think both of them were kind of phoning it in. Natasha Henstridge as well, but Natasha at this point had decided she did want to do the nudity that kind of like sealed her the deal in the first film. So that was really, really due. So we don't even have a lot of Natasha Henstridge to look at. And then we have the dude who's going to run around and bang all these chicks, but all the sex is kind of like reduced, and then it ends all messily and bloodily with like organs and shit all over the place. So, and then an overuse of CGI, which was problematic. And I think that's where we get is like a movie like this, you have diminishing returns that you cannot escape. with a film like this, and they kind of fell into that. They tried to recapture the magic of the first one, and they had nowhere to go.
I think the first one too. So, and I looked it up to check the dates, check my memory on it. But the first one I think was riding off the success of The Puppet Masters, which came out in '94. This dropped down in '95. So, because if you notice, they had a very similar, really subdued tone to them. Government agents kind of quietly going out to get this under control. The science on it, obviously, it was out there, but they weren't pushing it as far as suddenly we made it to Mars. And don't get me started on the physics of that damn Mars lander thing. But yeah,
that was the speediest Mars journey I've ever seen in my life, because it's like 6 months to get there. So.
And I'm like, if you're close enough to recapture a lander with a direct launch, you need wings, you sons of bitches. But they really just kind of crammed a lot of stuff in there that just pushed it. And then it got to the end, and it gets to the fight scene, and like she fights back against him, and then the whole domestic abuse, two-faced dick choke metaphor was just too much for me. And I couldn't deal with it any longer. I'm glad that was at the end, or I'd have been like, I'm out.
Well, because also at the same time is one of the things about the first Species is you have a super attractive woman who has to go around and is trying to mate with men. Men are going to watch stuff like that. When you reverse it as, oh, well, now you have a male, you say an attractive male who's going to go around and try to like score with girls, you kind of lose probably a lot of the audience with that. Where it's kind of like
when like a face hugger puppet erupts from their uterus, I'm pretty sure they're
well, I think it's and I agree with Eugene on that, because in the first film, Syl is trying to mate with a human male, and what really drew the sci-fi nerds in was that she was willing to mate with anybody as long as their DNA was suitable, which means that it's not really about looks. It's not about how you look. It's not about how you behave. It's not about how good you are with women or how social you are. It's just if your DNA is solid enough. And that's why Alfred Molina gets to like seal the deal with Natasha Hedges. Like, Alfred Molina, really? It's like, it's because she never got her hands on Michael Madsen. Michael Madsen was too busy with Marge Helgenberger in order for that to happen. But yeah, she winds all the good looking dudes. They're either like, they upset her, they attack her, or they're not suitable enough. But Alfred Molina, fucking A, ladies' man right there, which is odd. But I dug that. That's the reason why I think it attracted in the sci-fi nerd. Not to mention, I think it was riding high on the H.R. Giger designs, because obviously H.R. Giger, his name blew up after Ridley Scott found him and utilized his designs for Alien. Now it's the idea that we're going back to that. We're going to see a monster similar to that, but in a different setting. Here on Earth, doing the whole like genetic compositing, the genetic hybridization of a human with that. Well, what would that look like? Oh, is it going to be the alien again? Well, it's not really Alien, but along those same lines, because you saw the kind of like the biomechanical design of Syl in the end. So I really dug that. But like I said, where the first one truly succeeded, and I think capitalized something that was really popular. Not to mention bringing all these major actors to they have the budget they had to work with. The second one, like you can't really expand that any farther, especially if you're going to retain what a lot of people in the live chat are saying about the alien horror porn, which is what it is. It's just alien sex, okay? And they tried to rush this one and get it out really, because the first one came out in 1995, this one came out in 1998. They tried to really go forward with that and like try to get it out there and capitalize, but there's diminishing returns on that. And of course, I think the execution on this was overall poor, because I think it was Sarcasm said obvious cash grab was obvious, which is what this film was. Just like, we got to get it out there and get it out there fast and maybe continue a franchise, but people are going to lose interest in it. And of course, there was a third one, but that's when the series went direct to DVD. And there was a fourth one as well, also direct to DVD, that kind of picks up the storyline. But yeah, this was kind of that hard. It's like, it was almost like this should have been a direct to DVD film. But fuck, man, they forced it to get it out on the big screen, to get it out there.
Yeah, so someone was going to go, yeah, we'll give it a chance just because of how the first one did. Because the first one did do well. But even if you talk, it's like, okay, the main draw of the franchise is Natasha Henstridge. she is not a great actress. Is she very attractive in the day? Absolutely. But can she act? No, she cannot.
Oh, I didn't want to throw. But she can't.
But she can't
really...
because even if you look
Ghosts
at
of
movies,
Mars. Ghosts of Mars.
If you listen, if you look at the whole 9 yards, the whole 9 yards is a good, fun film. Bruce Willis, Matthew Perry,
right?
Both of them are fantastic.
It's their chemistry that makes that film, yeah. But
she bombs every scene she's in with that film. Like no one watches the whole 9 yards and goes, "Oh man, I can't wait for that super attractive girl to get on screen again." No one says that. No. You're waiting for Bruce Willis. You're waiting for Matthew Perry. You're waiting for even Amanda Peet does a better job.
Amanda Peet, I was about to say, he was like Michael Clark Duncan. Everybody is solid in that film, and even Amanda Peet, kind of like in the smaller role as the burgeoning assassin, who's his assistant, is like, but I couldn't kill him. He's just so nice. But Amanda Peet is amazing. And for some reason, she steals it. I think Natasha has difficulty. Oh, this sounds so bad. I think she has difficulty in delivering lines because Species works. She has difficulty. I mean, I don't know what it is because in Species, she only needed to say I think she had maybe 10 words in the whole thing. Otherwise, she's just kind of reacting to stuff, which makes sense. That makes sense for the role. We don't need a chick to act. We need her to be like a stranger in a strange land. I don't understand what's going on. And I really don't have the words because I don't really speak a lot of English. But now we've got her in this, and it's like, it was rough. And I kept remembering Ghosts of Mars. Every time she opens her mouth, I remember Ghosts of Mars. It was like, how could you not have chemistry with fucking Ice Cube? How is that even possible?
Ice Cube has chemistry with everybody. Just him
except for Natasha Henstridge.
You just have to wonder if her agent at some point wasn't like, "Are you sure you don't want to try singing instead?" Because no, oh, okay. Are
you sure you want to keep your shirt on for every role? Are you sure?
If you don't want to be known for nudity, then I don't. I don't think we're gonna need to go forward here.
That was the big thing, that she had no interest in being known as the chick who takes her top off. But unfortunately, I think that's why she got cast in Species. And I know she got her opportunity to branch out working with Matthew Perry and Bruce Willis. She's gotten these opportunities and unfortunately couldn't capitalize. I think Ghosts of Mars really wrecked it because her performance that was terrible. Sir Cab says that Species worked because her acting was shit. I don't think she needed to act, was the whole point. She just needed to look around. Literally, I think the direction was look around with the curiosity of a child.
Well, I think
it was very simple. Yeah.
She's supposed to look awkward, which she was awkward as a person who's never been exposed to people. But then again, don't want to be seen as a person who doesn't know. If I could get paid to swing my wang, I wouldn't be sitting here with y'all. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I'm time stamping that so I can remember the next trailer. So yeah.
And the thing is she couldn't even do it right, because if you watch Game of Thrones, you have Emilia Clarke. She did when she got the role, they're like, this is going to require nudity. She says, yes. She did all the nudity that was required in season 1, locked in the character. And then afterwards, she was like, I don't want to do nudity anymore. And that's why the nudity of her role drops dramatically from season 2. She does no nudity from season 2 to she does 1 in season 4, and they paid her an extra $1 million for 2 shots of her because she didn't want to do nudity anymore. But the thing is, Emilia Clarke steals the role of Daenerys Targaryen.
She stole the series.
Yeah. So she can do that. Natasha Henstridge, she never stole it.
Oh, I feel so bad because from what I understand, she's a really nice person. She's just a really nice person. She's not standoffish. She's got a great reputation. She just can't act. I feel so bad.
It's not for her. And not everybody can be an actor. And she tried, and she got farther than a lot of actors ever will. The fact we're talking about her shows how far she's gotten. But it's just not for everybody.
I wish she'd gotten the opportunity to be a scream queen. I really do. I wish I understand it's tits, it's horror, but there are some amazing careers that have been made out of tits and horror. Barbara Crampton. Her legacy is literally tits and horror. That's what it's about, because Barbara Crampton is just a fucking legend. And I don't even think she really has to. She's a good actress. Well, I love
she's
Barbara.
a good actress. She's not an Oscar-winning actress, but she's a good actress.
Yeah, she's a good actress. She's a good. Yes, she is. Yeah, absolutely. I adore Barbara. I've watched everything she's been in, and I still go back and watch the classic. I fucking love Jacob's Wife, but I mean, there are excellent careers that have been forged out of that, and I think Natasha saw herself as something deeper, something better. Elvira, thank you, Denova 28. Elvira, tits and horror. And she knew it, and she fucking ran with it, and she's legend now. I just wish that Natasha had gotten the opportunity, or maybe some better management advice, or some better agent advice, be like, look, we got to face facts here. These are the roles that are going to come in, and these are the roles that you're going to have a career with,
Well, I wish she, given the opportunity of getting cast in that first role, is now dive into the acting classes. And I don't know if she did or she didn't, but you'll have some of these actors that go and they completely they get their role, they dive in. And I'm specifically thinking about the wrestler in Guardians of the Galaxy and in Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, fuck yeah. Dave Bautista.
Yeah, Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista got his role in Guardians of the Galaxy and started taking acting classes 6 days a week, because he wanted to be able to perform at the peak level that he can. And honestly, he's
better than The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
Pardon me. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, you don't have to call from that. Dave Bautista is way better.
He's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, Dave Bautista can act.
He tapped into shit. But yeah, it's such a bummer. And the thing that really drags down was just the execution, because too many people were phoning their roles in. Even it's weird to see someone like James Cromwell phoning in a role, because he's I mean, we have really top tier actors in this that came along in this, and just I think it's just the studio wanted to force it out there. They wanted to get there as quick as possible and capitalize. So it'd be like, oh, we got this, we got the script, let's just do it, and paid the actors an exorbitant amount of money coming in. But it was weird. They missed the mark on virtually everything that made the first movie good. It made the first movie at least work in a functional sense. So just, shame. And then of course it continues on DVD. I don't recommend anybody going out and watching them. They really lean into the tits thing. They realize that they kind of overcorrect, because they try to go a little bit more serious sci-fi. And then they just then they overcorrect really hard into the tits and sex shit in the direct DVD releases, which is why you don't recognize any of the names that are in them.
Or their faces.
Well, yeah. And you never saw them in anything after the fact. But the thing that I want to ask the audience, given that there are 4 films in this franchise, 2 direct-to-DVD, 2 that saw theatrical release, what do you think, in your opinion, is the best entry in the Species franchise? And lots of love for Natasha Henstridge. She'll never hear this podcast. No one will ever share it with her. But so much love for Natasha. I adore her. I wish she's gotten better opportunities. Just, damn. It's like, girl.
Yeah.
Well, nobody's going to pay me to run out and fucking model. People just don't have their talents, and we need to deal with that.
Fuck that. I will say this. I will say this. I'm going to go out on a limb. And no, this isn't going on a limb. I think that I'm just stating fact here. Natasha Henstridge, Ghosts of Mars, John Carpenter film.
Mm-hmm.
Amber Heard, The Ward, John Carpenter film. Natasha was better. Natasha was better. Natasha was a better. It's not that the 2 movies are the same, but as far as talent wise, Natasha was better. Natasha at least is better than Amber Heard, because Amber Heard was fucking atrocious in The Ward.
I mean, you look horrible. At the Rum Diaries of Amber Heard. Her acting was they kept her to a certain minimum of lines, and outside of that, she kind of played a crazy person. So it's not a hard pull.
I will tell you, Amber Heard's best role is in Zombieland. That's it.
She got beat to death with a fucking toilet lid.
One scene, and it's believable. He has a attractive neighbor. That's cool. That's it. Everything. Else,
she says some panic lines, then she goes to sleep, and then she's a zombie. Good to go.
Yeah, that's it. She's been in so many other good movies with great cast, and she bombs those scenes.
Don't give her anything to do. Just have her be a zombie. That's it. And then whack, and then just kill her with it. I mean, I bet Johnny Depp watches that scene on.
Don't let her near the bed. Sorry.
How mad do you have to be to take a dump on someone's bed? I've been mad at people. I've never been that mad at somebody.
Like I said, I just take and go to their house and wipe my ass with their shower curtain. Tell them I don't know what happened.
Oh man, I will give to Natasha that better than Amber Heard because they both did John Carpenter films, and she was and Natasha was good. Natasha was good in that. Although I think there could have been but nonetheless, I digress on that one. We got one more film to talk about to kind of wrap up the show tonight. Aaron, take away. We're gonna go way back in the Wayback Machine because I know Aaron loves the classic horror.
Yep, back in 1944 and April 15th, it's The Monster Maker. See that Hayes approved trailer.
Actually, I got something to tell you about this trailer after we watch it. Here we go. We got to bring up the horror TV. Fucking A. I love this thing.
I must know who she is.
Dr. Igor Markov is waiting to see you.
But because you are the living image of my wife, she was taken away from me.
She doesn't welcome your attentions. I'm forced to ask you to stop annoying her.
Must talk to you concerning your father.
My father?
Acromegaly. A disease so rare that medical science knows little about it as yet.
Could you be so inhuman as to infect him with that disease in order to bargain for his daughter?
Take her out of here, please. Take her out of here, quick!
You kept your secret all these years. You stole the name and laboratory notes from the man you killed.
He deserved to die. You were clever, Markov. You have set yourself up as a Frankenstein and created a monster.
Frankenstein!
Put him on a chair while I prepare an anesthetic.
You can't treat him like a wild animal.
His recovery depends solely on you. I can save you, Lawrence. I can cure you. And I will cure you on one condition. I want you to persuade her to be very agreeable to me.
No.
Yes! Okay, so a little bit of insight. There is no trailer for The Monster Maker. That trailer was actually put together by somebody else. So like many years later. So they actually like went in there and tried to cut like a classic trailer for the film, but there's no actual trailer for The Monster Maker, which I thought was hilarious. But I found that and I was like, that's fucking. So someone took the time to try and do it. So that's why it's kind of like a modern feel, like a contemporary feel to it for a 44 film. So
I pretty much did my entire job right there as far as this goes. But directed by Sam Newfield, written by Pierre Gendron, Martin Mooney, based on the original story by Larry Williams, and starring Terry Frost, Juana McKay, Tyler Burrell, Ralph Morgan, and J. Carroll Nace. And it's just like what you see in the trailer is a mad scientist, or I guess that's the best description because he's not a doctor, evidently. Has finally figured out how to both cause and cure acromegaly and uses it to blackmail a man into getting his daughter, who looks like the mad scientist's dead wife, to try and make her, as he puts it, more agreeable, basically blackmail her or influence her into marriage. And why is there a gorilla? I mean, I just shot out that message because that's driving me insane. It's like, at so many of the movies, like I never noticed it until I started doing this podcast, is that they just insert gorillas in any movie that if it's got a jungle, we got to put a gorilla in. If it's got science, we got to put gorilla in because we ain't got good chimpanzee suits yet. If it's a jungle scientist, there better damn well be a gorilla. It's just like they drop them randomly into movies. And I think somebody during the era noticed it because if you watch like Abbott and Costello, I think there's a couple of gorillas just dropped in there like out of nowhere.
Okay, so you brought this up because there's two things interesting because originally there's the acromegaly aspect of the film, which I wanted to dive into, but then Aaron Dryden brings this up in a message, be like, why is there always a gorilla? And I'm sitting there thinking about it. He's fucking right. Films of the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, no matter what it was, no matter what the genre was, gorillas would be dropped in, or a guy in a gorilla suit would be dropped in. And I figured it out. It's because gorillas work in any fucking genre. any genre in science fiction, they're like lab animals, okay, or they're turned into monsters, laboratory experimentation. In horror films, they can be vicious and cruel. You're like, oh, I'm a gorilla. It's killing people and shit because it's insane or something like that. Horror films, comedies, because gorillas are goofy, and they do goofy stuff, and because it's a monkey or it's an ape, and so gorillas can be funny. Okay, even romances, the gorilla comes in. Oh, the gorilla has stolen the girl, and the hero is he's the obstacle. Think of like the obstacles for that. Any fucking westerns, it could be the primate could be a sidekick, or it could be like the villain, like a villainous bodyguard or something like that. They work in every fucking genre. And you brought this up, Aaron. Gorilla suits were cheap. You could stick a guy in it and make a serviceable gorilla in black and white, and there you have a monster. Easy peasy.
I mean, it's true. And you got to think about the time period. How many people have actually seen a gorilla in 1944?
Good point.
Yeah. I thought about it too, which in 33, King Kong, that hit like an A-bomb on the industry. And I guess they were like, gorillas are money. So just shove them into everything.
So Wrote It No Less Name says one issue of DC Comics had a gorilla on the cover and weirdly sold above average. So the studio demanded a huge swath of gorilla characters across their titles. And then, of course, Denova brings up fucking King Kong in the 30s. Big monkey. But not everybody, you can't do King Kong in every single one. So, but why not gorillas? And then Tony James' best gorilla is in Trading Places. So jail wants a banana. What the fuck? I'm not that gorilla-like. Come on, man. I mean, we did. Technically, I am the gorilla in this fucking podcast. So you can drop them anywhere. Podcasts. Got a gorilla in it. But I found it to be intriguing. It's like, fuck yeah, there's a gorilla in it, and there's gorillas in so many things. Easy villain, easy monster. Guy in a gorilla suit just bounce around like that. Probably based upon the fact that King Kong was so popular, we became so epic. And then, of course, I think DC Comics may have had a role in that as well. Whereas suddenly gorillas are all over the place. And then, of course, what got me was fucking acromegaly. Because since we've been doing this show and all the classic horror that we've watched, acromegaly comes up a lot as far as designing monsters or victims of experimental like experiments. Acromegaly is seen a whole bunch. Now, acromegaly, the disease in and of itself, was first described in the late 1800s. But when you get to like film, especially films with sound, or I would say even in silent pictures, I think acromegaly was so popular because it distorts the features and still makes it so the actor. It's kind of like it's a makeup setup that the actor can still act with, because you can kind of still see, they can still kind of articulate, they can still talk with it on. They don't have a mask on, they're not covered up, and still makes them look hideous enough. But, I think it may be kind of an early example of the, I totally lost the word, almost uncanny valley. Because it's this monster that's disfigured, doesn't look human, but it has human attributes and comes off as human. It sounds human. It acts human, but it doesn't look that way. And so people were kind of creeped out by that. Especially when in black and white, there's no color. So the light and shadow plays a little bit different. So, it really accentuates the deformities and everything, makes them look like really hideous monsters. And so I think that's why acromegaly played such a big role and why people constantly went back to it, because you could do it cheap and it was very effective in black and white.
Yeah, I think so too. And acromegalia it's basically, for those who don't know, it's a disorder where your body produces too much growth hormone. So you start getting disfigures because your body continues to grow when it's not supposed to. So you'll get disfigurations of the face or of the body, because it can affect organs, bones, any kind of tissue that can happen. And so you're right, it's a cheap monster that you can make that can still look human-like. Especially in this time period where, I mean, there's no CG, or right. CGI is just not a thing. So you can kind of get instead of going full like unrecognizable monster, like say Creature of the Black Lagoon, you can have like still these kind of distorted facial features, and you can kind of play into that more in terms of the character of it.
And
there was a legendary actor, right, Aaron?
Rondo
suffered from this.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's actually so his big boom was in The Brute Man. He was a bunch of stuff after that. I mean, he was in the Abbott Costello film, I think, too. So he reached a little bit beyond horror, but he's got horror awards every year that are named after him. So if you scroll through any major horror actor, director, star, you'll see Saturn Awards, you'll see the Standard Awards, and you'll see Rondo Hatton Awards for them, and they're named after him. And I think because we talked about it a little too, is I think that honestly part of this was it was more haze friendly than a lot of stuff, because as far as if you're dealing with deformations of the human figure, like with Freaks, it wasn't just the ending that got that in trouble with Hays Code. It was the nature of the individuals involved, which we now realize that was wrong to have discriminated against them based on that, but it was a less just world back then. But also, and I have to look at the specifics, I think they frowned upon anything that might be infectious or a disease like a boil or anything like that on the face. They were more restrictive on and stuff. So I think this was a way of them causing deformations in humans that didn't cross that line so they could still get out into the main theaters. And in this one,
Right.
I think they also went with it because it was something that seemed fairly reversible, whereas if you destroyed their body completely, like the cure is less plausible. I mean, the whole thing's silly. We know that, of course, especially looking back, but I think they were trying to bend it to that degree to their advantage.
It was a popular thing. I mean, we even saw it in that movie, in the movie Tarantula that we watched, about the big giant tarantula that were like that. The victims of his experiments, when he was testing it on the people around him, were developing it as well, develop acromegaly, and it was just a one way. I think it's just because it was very cost effective. And I think this is hilarious. I don't mean to interrupt you, Eugene, but Sir Cab said, I was expecting some insightful comments on the Hays Code or World War II. And what do I get? Freaking gorillas. Yeah, pretty much. We before in movies like The Jungle Woman. Okay, we talked a great deal about the Hays Code and its influence on what these films could do. But going to that, and I have to agree, I think Sarcasm would agree with me on this, and probably you guys, that the reason we were utilizing like acromegaly and to that degree, and using things like gorillas, like quick, cheap, and easy gorillas, is because they fit within the Hays Code. The Hays Code was extremely limited as what could go on screen, what kind of like monsters you could put on there, and using monkeys or using gorillas that get out of control, was a cheap way to kind of get around that. It's like, it's a primate. It's nothing distorted. It's nothing terrifying. Nothing, and it fits within that realm. We'll just make the monkey do something, crazy or wild on screen, or the person in the monkey suit do that. So I think that the Hays Code is the reason why gorillas were so prevalent throughout these kind of like the time that the films were being made.
Well, that's the case with a lot of the devices went across, because because the Hays, I can't remember, it was a board or association, I can't remember the exact name, but it was a self-patrolling institution for the studios. So you could still make a movie and not have to get by the Hays Code, but it wasn't going to get into a theater if they poo-pooed it and said no. So if it was a trick and it worked, a lot of studios went with it. That's why you see that through line in anything from the era is, it worked, it got through, they're frowning on our film, so we'll do this.
Exactly, because that was the only way to make money. Keep in mind, there is no streaming service back. There wasn't even home video back in the 40s. You saw a movie in theater, and then if you didn't see it in theater, you just never saw it. Like it was just gone. And so it was vital for any film to make any kind of money to get into the theater. It had to. And going back to the acromegalia, is one of the things that's horrific is the things people fear is disfigurement. Because when you talk to a lot of veterans, especially from World War I and World War II, it wasn't necessarily dying in combat. Like everybody knew that was a possibility that could happen, but it was disfigurement. So getting half your face blown off, losing limbs, things that decrease your quality of life, these were actually more scary for a lot of soldiers than actual death. So being able to rely on this disfigurement can be more scary, especially in this time period where everybody judged you on your looks. The color of your skin was important, the color of your hair, the color of your eyes, everything is important. And let's say you get the high status because of your genetic information, then also you get disfigured, and that's stripped away from you because now you're treated differently.
Individuals that were affected individuals, especially in the 40s and in the 50s, that individuals like that were affected to a great degree were often sequestered in asylums or in convalescent homes, or they were hidden away in their houses where they wouldn't be an embarrassment to the family. They were hid away like they were guilty secrets, and the disrespect is kind of what I think that lends itself to the horror genre as best as it could during that time period, because it was a horror. It ostensibly reflects what's going on in society, and like those anxieties that are kind of like run through the undercurrent of every kind of like time period, World War II especially. It would pray, it makes, or brings those fears to the forefront. And so we see him in a different way. So, I would say movies like this were they do the same thing that they do today, is that they reflect what ails us in society. And a big thing that I wanted to point out, that because when we're talking about the cheapness of these films, why they're low budget, why we use like gorillas. Nemo 813 is here and says James Bond had a gorilla and diamonds are forever. Absolutely. Tony Regine brought up Phantom of the Opera as a good example of a disfigured villain as well. So, but a movie like this particular movie is also referred to as a Poverty Row film. And Poverty Row is important from a historical perspective because without it, the evolution of Hollywood would have been markedly different and may not even be recognizable as what Hollywood is today if it were not for Poverty Row Studios. Poverty Row Studios were obviously what they called was a slang term for the very low budget production houses that existed in Hollywood or around Hollywood, and kind of they didn't really compete with the likes of MGM or Warner Brothers or Paramount. But they managed to eke out some films. Some only were able to do a handful before they shuttered. Some actually managed to do some good ones and get some longevity. Like, for example, a good example of a Poverty Row production studio was CBC Productions. CBC Productions was founded by Harry Cohn back in 1919 and produced some small stuff, nothing really impressive, until they reorganized in 24 as Columbia Pictures, which we still have today. So that's an example of what Poverty Row style filmmaking enabled and kind of guided the evolution of Hollywood, which is why this was so important. The Monster Maker, this film, is kind of in that genre of those low budget, quickly put out, no name actors. There's not a recognizable name in this thing, given the time period, that just kind of capitalized on what the scary things were going on in the world today. And other ones like Tiffany Pictures, Mascot Pictures, there's so many of them that lasted maybe a couple of years, then they died. Some of them managed to go on and get livelihood beyond that. Like Monogram became Allied, which people should recognize, Allied artists. So, they were really, really important at the time. And I think from a horror perspective, from the perspective of the genre, the horror genre is what it is today because of Poverty Row Pictures. That's why they're so important. Why films like The Monster Maker and other ones that are like it are so important as to the history of the genre that we're talking about, which is another reason why I wanted to bring this one up.
And see, it's a great thing that you brought in terms of early Hollywood. Hollywood didn't just come out of nowhere. It wasn't just and Hollywood wasn't even like a big city at the time. And so the way Hollywood came about is when filmmaking started becoming a legitimate business and people saw success, you started getting the early studios that opened up in New York, because you had Broadway was already well established at this point. Mm. So they started filming in New York. So you started getting a couple of these big studios. Well, what ended up happening is you started getting indie filmmakers who were like, well, I can afford a camera and some film. I'm going to start making my own stuff. Well, these studios, through some less than legitimate means, started terrorizing independent filmmakers. They would actually hire the mob to intimidate and destroy indie filmmakers because they wanted to monopolize the business. So indie filmmakers decided to go, well, where's a place where we can go where the mob can't get us? We need to get as far away as possible. So they chose Hollywood, California, because at that time it's a farmland. It's literally nothing, but they could go and they can make movies on their own without the hindrance of the early major studios. And what happened is more filmmakers started flocking to the area. More people saw opportunities, started flocking to the area. And then Hollywood started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then also keep in mind, in the early filmmaking, Europe was the king. Right. Germany, France, USA filmmaking was considered like less than you're doing USA films. That's kind of low tier. I guess it's not worth it.
There was kind of a sense of like they were tawdry and sordid.
Exactly. And it wasn't until when World War II broke out and basically killed the entire film industry during that time period in Europe, where a lot of them went to the United States, because at that point Hollywood was getting more established, and then it just kept growing to what it is today.
Yes, difficult to shoot a movie when you're being bombarded by the Axis powers. I'm just going to throw that out there. Kind of puts a damper on the schedule. Like, oh, shit. But yeah, I thought this was really, really cool.
See this too.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, with smaller studios and horror, I mean, it's what pays the bills in the end. And if you can get even medium profit on low budget, you're going to do pretty well, because we talked about the ones, American International Pictures we talked about before. They did, you know, the Teenage Werewolf and all that. And they rolled up and they became American Releasing Corporation. They actually worked, Samuel Arkoff, who was the head of studio, worked with Amicus, who was the big competitor in Britain back during the Hammer era. Those two went back and forth, but it rolls forward. That becomes part of Orion, which is now part of MGM. And even if it takes decades, it's this slow roll towards success with what works and what makes money. If it in any point during that they were like, oh, screw the money, we'll just do the artwork, well, they would have folded. So horror sells, and you can do a mix of, really scary horror and tits and blood. I mean, so it's the mix and match to make the profit you need to make. And you see that a lot. I mean, this genre pays.
Fucking A. Casey Cooper says, Gorilla plus Nailgun plus Eugene storyboarding, X-rated success. I will agree with that. I absolutely will. And Sir Cab says, now this is the insightful commentary that I was talking about. Appreciate that sarcasm. Really, really do. But yeah, really, it's really interesting stuff. I love the history of and bringing that up about how Hollywood was formed because people had to get away from the mob. That's, golden era Hollywood. There's this idea of what it was, and there is the stone cold fucking reality of what it was. And you think about it, it's like old time, like old school Hollywood. It's like, it has this kind of the glamour and the glitz of fucking, Olivia de Havilland and fucking, the idea of like, Grauman's the Chinese theater and shit like that. The original era, but man, it was fucking seedy as shit. It was shady as fuck. Studios fighting it out, securing actors, securing productions, backdoor deals, sabotage. Tried to fuck each other's movies over so that they could get one up at the box office. It was fucking it was the Wild West with the glamour and glitz of old school Hollywood. It was wild, and I love that shit. And I love that there were these small filmmakers, these small production studios that were fucking duking it out with MGM and Paramount, the ones that had been around for a minute just to fight and leave their mark. And they, just by virtue of being on the ground floor, of just kind of like working in the trenches, helped to shape not only this genre but Hollywood and like literally the history of cinema itself, which I think is just absolutely fucking cool.
Well, I mean, you get an industry that is at the time unregulated and it booms so quick. So you get somebody who, say, been in poverty on their farm their entire childhood, they go out to Hollywood and all of a sudden they get a deal and all of a sudden they're making $500 a month. They've probably never seen $500 total in their entire life. Now
right.
$500 a month. And it was just this money that was just thrown out. Plus, on top of Hollywood sold the fantasy. Like, if you look at the big genres at the time, like musical, these extravagant productions, they wanted to have that fantasy. You didn't, even war films at the time, you didn't have these gritty Saving Private Ryan war films during World War II. No one wanted to see that. People wanted to see either the fun hero overcome the day, or they wanted singing, dancing. It's that glamour that sold.
Right.
Yeah. In the studio, the $500. Well, now the studio owned you for the next 5 to 10 years. And then the Hays Code determined that the bad guy had to die or go to jail at the end. The bad guy couldn't win. So that's why everything was so neat and clean and pretty, is because it had to be. Like, this wasn't our artistic decision.
Raven Darkstar brings up Hollywood Land, that is.
Yes.
This is true. And then, of course, XJ brings up, I have an old Fangoria mag somewhere covering some low-budget movies made by some kids in the Midwest when the Mississippi River went crazy. They took advantage of flood scenes, big budget effects for free. It was shooting around shooting around a natural disaster. That's pretty fucking ballsy. That's like, fuck it, man. We're going to dive into that. And Rodent Noah's name also brings up, Hollywood succeeded because there was cheap land to build warehouse sound studios on, many days of full sun, and multiple microclimates for outdoor filming. Absolutely. Yeah. And welcome, Cindy Johnson. You popped in. Yeah, good to see you. Thanks so much for popping in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, because you have to keep in mind, in the early 1900s, there was no lighting. So most sets that you see actually didn't have roofs. And they had sun coming in because that was all they got. So getting the maximum amount of sun that you can get so you can actually get a good exposure was very important.
Oh yeah.
You suddenly made me think, who was the first person who figured out reflecting boards? Who figured out if I aimed this and I catch the light and I could project it, like if it was a mirror. Like maybe it was a mirror. It wasn't even a reflecting board, it was a mirror. And it was like, well, if I stick a mirror here and I angle it, I can improve the lighting there, and we can highlight something. Who figured that out? I'm kind of curious. That's a bit of trivia I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You'd have to use like metal or something to soften the light too, because just straight up bounce of light would be too much. We
need to increase
you just set a munchkin on fire, you sick bastard.
Oh, I'm just kind of curious. It just struck me. I was like, So you're sitting there, you have no sound, and you're only working with like natural light. It's like, well, but the sun's kind of getting low, but we can bounce the sun. If we can reflect the sun back into the scene using mirrors, then we might be able to like maintain our continuity. I was thinking, who was? So Angel Vera says 1810, Winslow Lewis, a sea captain who confessed that he knew nothing about lighthouse optics, patented what he called a magnifying and reflecting lantern for lighthouse work. Rodent LSA says RLM coined the term shooting the rodeo. If there was a rodeo parade in town, free B-roll. Oh, that's pretty awesome. That's very cool. So yeah, mirrors, utilizing a mirror to reflect light in order to improve the lighting in a scene in case the sun was getting too low. So that would be something interesting. Yeah, it was like, there's a bit of horror history that I don't know.
I don't know because they still use mirrors today. When I was on that Bank of America commercial, they had scenes shooting under some trees. So they took a giant 4-foot by 4-foot mirror and bounced the sun onto the actor to get around the shade of a tree.
You see Aaron. Do that in Aaron would be like fucking Nosferatu and shit.
It burned. It burned. All right. So, in line with burnt and terrifying, we want to ask you. So, what is your favorite low budget? And I mean, like dirt cheap. Low budget, not like Night of the Leap low budget, but a little bit higher than that. Poverty Row classic era monster. Again, give us a heads up in the comments down below, live chat, or at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
I have to point out with Raven Darkstar when we were talking about World War II, and he commented, "Cut air raid."
Oh,
Nemo that switch to the World War II film.
Nemo 813 with the Fifth Element reference. Mirrors for lighting. Aziz light. Much better. Thank you, Aziz. Rodent Ellison brings up Robot Monster. Nice. I have to go back golden era stuff. I love the fantasy stuff. I love Harryhausen monsters. And I don't know if those were like super cheap, but those were stop motion, and that was pretty classic at the time. But that's kind of like what fascinated me about filmmaking was Harryhausen. Was growing up watching the old Harryhausen films. The idea that a person could be up there and have a sword fight with a skeleton was like, how do they fucking do that? And it was like Ray Harryhausen, man, or the Clash of the Titans, the fucking Kraken, the Kraken and shit. So yeah, love it. Case Cooper brings up the ape. Very cool. Lots of good choices out there. Let us know in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com. It is about that time. We're running a little bit long, but Eugene, you've got the trivia question tonight. You ready?
All right, let's do this.
Because it is that time. It is trivia time. really improving the production value of the show.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. The trivia question is, get your Google fingers ready.
Remember, the first person to get the correct answer to this in the live chat wins a special item from the Week in Horror store. All kinds of cool stuff at the Teespring store. Link is in the description. But whoever gets this one correct, first one, will win a mystery item from the Week in Horror store. Take it away, Eugene.
The question is, Poverty Row Studios played a huge role in the evolution of American cinema and were usually based on or near what street in Hollywood? So Poverty Row Studios played a huge role in the evolution in American cinema and were usually based on or near what street in Hollywood? The first one in the comment below wins the mystery prize.
Let's see. This is gonna.
Bam! Already got it.
That was fast.
Already got it.
Casey Cooper. Got it. Yes, it was Gower Street. Gower Street was the where the location of many Poverty Row studios. It was either on or around Gower Street because it was a cheap area and pretty easy to develop in because it was kind of like more on the rundown side of town. But Gower Street is now kind of legendary, and of course Gower Street Studios is there as well. But back in the day, Gower Street was the home of the Poverty Row Studios. If you were seen, and I read in a kind of a history of that, it's like if you were seen as an actor heading down there, like if you were recognizable to any degree, and you were seen heading towards Gower Street, that could be potentially harmful to your career.
No, I'm not going to act. Yeah. I'm going to give out hand jobs. I swear, I'm not.
Because there was no because there was literally no reason for someone who'd been in top tier studio productions to be going to Gower Street. So if you were going to Gower and somebody saw you, or the paparazzi saw you, they report, oh, he was seen down there, and then that could do loads of damage because he's doing those kinds of films. We can't touch him anymore because he's doing the low shit that we don't we can't use that character anymore. We can't use his face because he's now associated with that kind of tawdry, seedy shit.
Yeah, that low school. If he did porn, it would be okay. But that low school stuff, you can't have that.
So it was an intriguing thing. Is actors were willing to do that to get that work. But yes, the answer was Gower Street. Congratulations, Casey Cooper. I've got your name down. Nemo says, so was the area called the Gowery? Very cute. like the Bowery. So anyway, no, but
yeah,
Casey
I know.
Cooper.
It still hurts.
It's not funny if you have to explain it. So, but congratulations. Oh, yeah, wrote in Noah's name. I'm not starring in a Poverty Row film. I'm just here to score heroin.
I'm just dumping a dead hooker's body. It's cool. It's cool. Oh, I got one in my trunk. Can you take it too?
I've got to be on set in 20. Aha! I wasn't with a hooker today.
Never seen so many dead hookers in my life. Lord knows I have.
All right, that is going to close out another episode of the Week in Horror podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us. We truly hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, smash that like and subscribe button and be sure to hit that bell so you never miss a future episode. Join us next week when we look back at the Bava Italian horror macabre, the insane zaniness of zombie strippers, the slasher horror Dark Harvest, and the paranoia-inducing horror Vacancy. Be sure to check out Joshua Olsen's store at badsamurai.store. He does all the awesome artwork you see splattered all over our merch, which you can find over at Teespring. For more from Week in Horror, check out all of the bloody links down in the description. Follow us on the socials for the daily splatter, your daily horror recommendation. Join our Discord for watch parties, big announcements, behind-the-scenes looks at the show and all of our productions, and all kinds of horror shenanigans, and support the show through our PayPal link or through our Patreon. Join the higher tiers for early content access and behind-the-scenes fun with us, like our special guest judges for our Bloodbath debates or our After Dark sessions where you can play horror movie trivia, try to win some prizes from the store. Or you can just support us for as little as $1 a month. What are you waiting for? Get in on it. Get in on the fun. As always, thank you all so much for being the greatest audience a horror film podcast could have. I am JL.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Eugene.
We will see you all next week, and as always, stay scared. Gorillas. No, I'm just